Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today's webinar. We'll just give everyone a few more minutes here and then we will get started. All right. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. To those of you who are joining us for the first time, welcome. We've been hosting these webinars at least once a month on various topics and deep dives into our specific capabilities. If you have missed any of the ones in the past, you can always go to the Help Center of our website and just scroll down to the webinar section and you can rewatch any of those. They will also be on our YouTube channel if they're not already, so you have a few options there. In today's webinar, we are going to be going through the new features in our latest update, Modern Requirements for DevOps 2020, Update 1. Just a few housekeeping topics before we get started. Throughout the webinar, if you have any questions, please drop them in the question box on the right-hand side, and we'll get to them either during or after the presentation. If you have joined these webinars in the past, you should know how the audio and everything works, but if you do have any issues, you can leave them in the question box and I'll get to you shortly after. Our one and only speaker for today is Asif Sharif, our Chief Technologist at Modern Requirements, who will be walking you through what's new as well as taking any of your questions as they come up. If this webinar has piqued your interest and you are not already using Modern Requirements, you can visit the link on the screen at modernrequirements.com/try-now. We will also be sending around an email with the video recording after this webinar wraps. And there you'll also have another opportunity to receive a free trial. So please stay tuned for that. Towards the end, you'll also see that we have a upcoming blog post that will include screenshots and round up everything that Asif is covering in this webinar, so you can always refer back to that as well. Just a quick note, this is our last and final webinar for this year, but we will be picking it back up in January. Before I pass it over to Asif, we just have a few quick polling questions to get a sense of who we have in our audience today. So if you wouldn't mind participating in those, that would be great. We're just going to start off with asking if you are currently using modern requirements for DevOps. All right, we have 79% of you guys have voted, and 76% said yes, and 24% no. And if you aren't, are you considering using modern requirements for DevOps? I hope we have a 100% yes here. And if not, hopefully this webinar will change your mind. Give everyone a few more seconds. All right, so we have a 94% said yes. That's good enough for me. And is test execution reporting important to your organization? All right, we have 93% said yes. And lastly, are you currently using Smart Docs? We have 62% said yes, 38% said no. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for participating in our polls. It just gives us a better sense of who we have on the call and allows Asif to tailor his presentation to who we have on the line. All right, that's it from me. Over to you.
All right, thank you, Ambreen. So we'll be talking about what's new in Modern Requirements 2020 Update 1. So in this release, one of the major areas that we are focused on is test management reporting. So this was one of the most highly requested feature set in Modern Requirements. And so we've done a lot of different things to support test management reporting, as well as there's other things that we are also continuously doing that will be released in the subsequent releases. So when you start to use this reporting capability, if you have certain requests, please send it our way. We'll take a look at that and see how we can implement, because we do the lion's share of our development enhancement to our product suite based on our client feedback. All right, so here is what I'll be showing you today under test reporting. So if you go to the test hub now, you will see the Smart Docs appear there. So So we'll use that. You can run smart reports for test reporting. And I'll cover shortly what I mean by test reporting. You can also go through trace analysis to generate your test reporting. We now also support generating reports with test parameters in Smart Docs, Smart Report, and a few other areas. And now we also have test steps in Smart Docs. So that was a lot of people had asked us that they wanted to see test steps in there. So when we were implementing test parameters, we ended up implementing test parameters in Smart Docs as well. So in terms of what do I mean by test reporting? It's this. If you look at Azure DevOps, you will see that you can create test plans and test suites underneath it and add test cases to it, and then run your test cases within the suite, which becomes a test run, and then all the test cases end up having the test results at the macro level, or having test steps at the step level, and then you can link bugs to your test case that was being executed, and then so you have bugs. So now what you will find is that within Azure DevOps, if you create a test plan and a test suite underneath it, there is no linking. So if you go to the work item link tab, you will not see a link between test plan and test suites. And nor will you see a link created between test suite and test case. Of course, that linking does exist. That relationship between different records or objects here do exist, but they don't exist as links, as work item links. They exist in the test database as a database structure. But the links don't exist. And because the links don't exist, you have not been able to generate reports using Smart Report, for example, or trace analysis of this hierarchy. So what we did was we actually created something called virtual links. A virtual link makes this link, which really doesn't exist as a work item link, but does exist in the database. So we take the database link and we make it available as though it were a work item link. So we introduced the notion of virtual links to connect these things together. Further to that, you will find that test run is actually not a work item even. And the test results on every test case is not a work item. And certainly test steps are not work items. So for all of these three concepts, we have created what is called, what we're calling virtual work items. So these are virtual work items. Of course, they do exist in the database, in the test database of ADO, but we expose them as virtual work items and also created virtual links between these. And what all of that means is that you get all of this information available to you as though they were work items and they were linked together, and thus be able to do what I'm going to show you. So the other way of looking at this virtual work items and links coming together is you have a test plan connected to test suite. So we create this virtual link, test suite connecting to test cases, again through a virtual link. Test runs have now become virtual work items with virtual links. The test case execution or test results of it become a virtual work item with virtual links. Same thing with test steps, virtual work items with virtual links. And of course, the bug work item does exist, but this link is a virtual link, is what we have created. So it's really connecting the whole thing. So now you can actually see an end-to-end traceability all the way from your test plan to the test step result, or even bugs that you created within test execution. So what all of that really means is that you can actually generate reports to, you can generate reports to see what test plans and test suites exist. Or for test suite, what test cases exist, or for test plans to test suite to test cases, and so on and so forth. So there are various permutations listed here that you can actually configure the system to report on. The other thing that we will look at after we've looked at the demo of the test reporting is Smart Docs. So in Smart Docs, we did some significant re-engineering, and as part of that, we have improved the performance so that we can handle larger document sizes. We have also support now expand and collapse functionality like you would have in Word. And there's also a local search just like you would have in Word. So SmartDoc got several interesting enhancements. There were also enhancements done for review management. So if you are using review management, you've got now the ability, as you might know, Microsoft has stopped the support of using alternate credentials. One of the alternate credential types, and that's particularly for is it for ADO service or on-prem? I think it's for ADO service. And so now we have provided for another alternate credential mechanism for e-signature support. And we've also implemented a couple of things in review management where you can edit your review, where you can now add more people to the review. As opposed to previously, you would send a review and that would be just that. You could not add more people or remove people from it, but now you can. So there's a few enhancements in the in the review management area, but I'm not going to take a look at that in any detail today. So we'll really be looking at both testing and Smart Docs area, or test reporting in Smart Docs area. Oh, by the way, this is what Ambreen was talking about. So we've been adding blogs on our releases. So although there is the release notes on our download page, so if you are a client, then you can just go into the client area, download the latest version, as well as take a look at the release notes there, and you'll see exactly what's new and what's been fixed and so on and so forth. All right, so with that, let us take a look at a demo of the testing area. So in the testing area, so here I'm in the test plan hub, and I'm in test plan 1. I've got a test suite in it, and in that test suite, I have 3 test cases. And then I've executed all of these test cases. A couple of them has failed, one has passed. And if you go to test run, we'll be able to get to all the test results. So of course, online you have access to all of this data within Azure DevOps. Sorry. Actually, let me do this here. So I ran this thing, this failed. I ran that one, and that passed on this configuration on this day by this tester, and so on. And the same thing with this guy, right? So I've already run these test cases. Now the question is, I want to see my results in a report. So what you can do is go to the test suite hub and call upon Smart Report. Now within Smart Report, we actually have a couple of default reports. So you'll know that the test report function was not available under test plans hub. So now it is. So here you go, and you can choose detailed test plan or a high-level test plan. So if I run a high-level test plan, then it'll go and get all the data and render the report for us. So in here, what we are seeing, actually what I should do is show you the designer view first. So you can see how this was structured. So in Smart Report, I've set this up as test plans, have test suites, have test cases. And of course, with every work item, you can choose the properties that you want to see in the report. And then for test suite, I have test cases. And then for test suite, I also have my test runs, which is the run of the test cases that you executed on. So you have the test run, and then there are certain properties I added for that. And then we have test results. So in this thing, I'm using these properties in a table format. And then finally, and just to be clear, test results is actually the test case run results. So test results is really the test case being run, and that's represented as test results. And then below it, you actually can get to the step level. So I've included my outcome in my report. And then based on this configuration, this report was generated. And so I've got my test plan here. I've got the start date, finish date. I have my test suite there. And then I have my test cases. And I've got test case 2, test case 3. And now I have my test runs. So here's the test run. And this test run is for, so under this test run, we have the test case 1, and this test case 1 failed. I ran it, and then here are the step level, and whether it passed or failed. Unspecified simply means I didn't mark it as pass or failed. And of course, you could have configured in the designer that you want outcome to be the last column. So you can choose, of course, the order of things and which properties you want to show. And then you have the next test case, its macro result, and then its step level results, and so on and so forth. Now, if we choose the detailed report, I think one of the things we've added in the detailed report is the bugs that were created. So again, this is the same where we have the test plan, the test suite, the test cases underneath it, and then our test suite, and then our the test run, and then for every test case, the test results virtual work item. This is the virtual work item I was talking about, and then its macro level results, and then the step level results. And now you can see the bugs. So I created bug one against this test case. This was created, and so on. So, and then of course, as usual, you can save this to Word or PDF if you like. So just remember, when you have a test plan, a test suite, go to the test suite and generate the smart report. And if you had multiple test suites, you can run it at each level. All right. Now, let's take a look at the test reporting from a trace perspective, trace analysis perspective. So from a trace analysis perspective, we shall go here and go there. So this particular test result is showing us how test plans. Actually, let me show it to you from the editor view, where we can see that I've configured this to show test plan to test suite to test runs to test results to test step run. Okay, so this is the step level results. And then you can configure all the properties you want to see in the columns. In this case, I've added a whole bunch of properties. So of course, in your trace analysis, you can do that. Now, when you go from here to there, you could have selected virtual links only. You didn't have to do any. I've just been, because virtual links is part of all, so it works fine. But I could have just selected virtual links if I wanted. And the fact that you see test run here, this is the virtual work item type that we've created, right? So are these other ones. So based on that configuration, now you can see that this test plan has two test suites with link type being vlink, which meaning virtual links. And from your test suite, you can go to test run, which is also a virtual link. And then you have the test run. And this test run has multiple test cases that I ran in it. And this was my macro level results. And then finally, your test step results. So for this test case, which failed, the first three passed and it failed, and then I stopped running it. So now you've got your trace matrix at the step level. So we are currently working on further enhancing this test reporting to provide greater amount of filtering in what data you want to produce in the report. And there are other information Microsoft keeps, but does not expose it as work items. So we'll be wrapping a lot of that information like chain sets as virtual work items. So you can, in fact, generate traceability all the way to the source code level. So as usual, life is always in progress. And as soon as we showed this to a few people came back and said, hey, what about these other things which are not work items? But it'd be very useful for us to have traceability to these other artifacts as well, or be able to report on them. So the last thing in terms of reporting I want to show you is is in Smart Docs. So within Smart Docs now, you will see. So I've created a meta template here, and my meta template basically is I have sections, user stories, and test cases. And test cases are use the tested by link type. Okay. But I've chosen to show steps in Smart Docs as well as parameters, your test parameters. Now, both steps and parameters are also supported directly within Smart Report or Advanced Report. So this function is across the board now. So now, when you do define your test cases, so if I do this, you will see that I've got my let me just make it bigger here. So I've got all my test steps here, and I've referenced multiple parameters and provided values for those parameters in my test case. And that in turn got documented within Smart Docs. And similarly, you can do the same thing with Smart Report. Now you should know that we for reporting on Smart on test steps, we already had the support of this in Smart Report before, but the test steps in Smart Docs is new, and parameter reporting is new both in Smart Docs as well as in Smart Report. And in this case, in fact, one point I'll just quickly mention to you guys, and if you're using Smart Docs, you probably already know this, but that is that you'll see that this particular user story has this test case underneath it, but and this test case being test case one, but it also has test case 2 underneath it. But this test case 2 is also underneath user story 2. You'll see this is identical IDs, which means the same work item can reappear multiple times within a same Smart Doc. And obviously, in the case of requirements to test case, that always happens. It's a many-to-many relationship, right? So you want to be able to visualize it. And Smart Docs lets you do that very elegantly. So that was, let me just go here and make sure I covered all of this. Test Hub, we saw this, and we saw that. All right, so that's for the test reporting component. Let's take a look at the Smart Doc enhancements. So since we're already in Smart Docs, let me show you what has actually changed. So one is we've added this expand collapse option. So many of our clients had told us that, hey, I want to be able to collapse things and expand it. And so you have the collapse expand, you have the plus minus to do bulk collapse expand in there as well. Like so, right? So it'll make it easier for you to navigate through the document with this collapse expand option. The other thing that, oh yeah, as I mentioned, so now we are supporting much larger Smart Docs. I think previously you could probably do 500 to under 1,000 work items, and 1,000 work items were pushing it. But now we have re-engineered some stuff, and I think we've tested for 3,000 work items, and we were trying to make sure that we can support up to 5,000 work items. Of course, 5,000 work items is a huge number. Most people don't need to have a smart doc with 1,000 work items, because 1,000 work item document, if you save it as Word, could be a 1,000-page document. Who can ever consume it unless you're doing it for compliance reason and you want to show it to your auditor and you would just have a big document produced for them, then that could be a good reason to do it. Or you have a product specification you want to archive because that's needed by your SOPs, then you would do that. The other thing that we have done here is you got the search capability. So in the search capability, if I were to say type in, if I were to type in case 2, then this is showing that there are 2 places where it says test case 2, so it's looking for partial search. And then if I do, for example, overview, then of course it just found 1. I can also search within the content. And so it's also going to search within the content of what's shown within Smart Docs. So this was other requests we had from many of our clients. And so you've got that capability now. For review management, let me just, actually no, before I even get to review management, let me show you one other thing here. So one of the other things we have done here is, so we had some clients coming to us and saying, what we'd like to do is, right now, every time I open up Smart Editor, I double click and bring up the Smart Editor, and then I can edit in here and then save it and close it and then go to the next one. But what we'd like to have is just a window, a new window opened up with that content, and the new window would be synchronized. So this window now will be synchronized with the information within Smart Docs. So if I go down here and I select this test case, then this, actually, if you use this within 2 screens, so if you had 2 different screens, and then you can have both of them open, and you can update on one side and refresh on the other. And so that's what this is for. And of course, if you click on open work item, we open up the standard work item window. But now you also have the option to open up things in a new window. So when we go to review management, so let me just switch to another project. So in review management, we've added a couple of capabilities here, which are, so when I go here, one is people just wanted a quick way of copying the URL of the review. So if you just copy it, now you can paste it into your browser and get to it. So there's a sort of a quick copy there. The other thing that we did here was to, under the details tab, you can actually update your review, right? So the idea behind updating the review is that you can add users to it, um, and or change them. But if somebody has already provided feedback, then you can't remove them, because at that point we need to maintain to know who said what. So if say somebody said it, then you can't remove them, but you can always add new users to it, and or move people between reviewers and approver roles, and and send out the email. So this one did not change. There was no change because I did not change. So several of our users had asked for update review option, which now you have. When you want to go to download modern requirements, the latest version. So what you want to do is you want to go to the client area, and in the client area, you can. I'm already logged in. Otherwise, it would have given you a login screen, and then once you log in, it'll bring you here, and then you can go to version history, or you can just download the latest version. Just note that you only download the latest version if you are doing it on-prem. If you're on the modern requirements cloud instance, then you already have been upgraded. So here you will find what's new in update 1. So this is the e-signature piece I was talking about earlier. It is for ADO services only, and it's called MR credentials. We looked at how smart reporting had been enhanced to support the test reporting. We looked at traceability. So one of the other things is that if your stakeholders, so if you have a licensed user, and they're using a floating license, but they're doing a review, and the license is not available, then they'll just continue as a stakeholder to approve and reject work items in the review process. And then we have the sort of the history of all the releases down there. All right, folks. So that is what's new in modern requirements. Just one other quick thing. We are planning to release another version towards the end of December, maybe second, third week. So hopefully before Christmas time, we will release another version. There's a few enhancements to the test reporting piece, some enhancements to smart reports, and a few other things. These were things that were already being worked on, but they could not make the cut for update 1. So we're actually going to work towards and do this release towards the end of in December sometime. So watch out for that. And once that gets released in January, we'll do another quick webinar on what was new in that release. And then, of course, after that, we'll start with our 2020 release, or 2021 release rather, into next year. From a release planning point of view, we are planning to do 3 to 4 releases next year of our product. Ideally, we would do it quarterly, but sometimes some of the features we are working on are pretty significant, like the test reporting piece with the virtual entity and virtual attribute piece. That tends to take a longer time, and so it does get stretched. But we would like to, personally, I would like to see us deliver 4 different releases, one every quarter, So that's sort of our plan right now. So with that, we will take on any questions you might have. And I see that there are several questions here. So the first question is, so the virtual links and virtual work items are available in Smart Reporting, Smart Docs, not queries, correct? That is correct, Scott. The virtual links and virtual work items is a concept that we at Modern Requirements have introduced. It's not a Microsoft construct, and therefore it is not available in the query view, but in Smart Doc, Smart Report, Advanced Report, Trace Analysis. The second question is, what is the release version that has these updates? We are on-prem and just did an update this week. How can I check if we have these updates? So this release is MR Update 1. So if I just go here, you will see the release number. So this is MR 2020 Update 1, build number 2613. So that is the version. The test reporting functionality requires so Modern Requirements has multiple SKUs, and the SKU that the test hub reporting or test reporting that I've shown today is actually part of Enterprise Plus. So if you have Enterprise Plus, you will see it. But if you have the latest version, but you have one of the lower SKUs, that functionality will not be available. So if you need it, you need to upgrade to Enterprise. The next question was, all of this requires the Enterprise Plus Editions license, correct? The answer is correct, Paul. The next question is, would it be possible to get a demo of the requirements? We are trying to determine if this will work for our needs. Absolutely, Ray. We will reach out to you and coordinate a demo. The test steps are still not supported in the trace analysis tab, question mark. No, they are, or yes, they are. So they are, because if you go to trace analysis, in trace analysis, when we say go to this report here, and then in this report, we'll move all the way to the right. So here you have test results. This is the test case sort of macro level results. And then you have the test step. So step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 results. So the test steps are available now. But previous to update 1, it was not available. What I need to do is trace from requirements to test results. What's the best way to do that? Yep. So the best way to do that would be through trace analysis. You can create you could create a report that, so there's two ways. So one is you can create a report like this, which is sort of test plan through test run and results at the step level. And then you can do another one that shows you from test plan to requirements. And so you have two sort of traceability matrix there. The other way you can play around with is to say that what if you had a trace matrix like this, but so for test suite, we would no. So for, let's say, for test suite, we will add a test case here. And for test case, I'll add, say, user story here. I think this is an Agile project. There's missing data there. So test plan to test case. Yeah, this flow doesn't work because after test suite, you can get test case, but test story doesn't make sense there. So this flow will not work. So you'd have to do one from test plan to test run results, and one between test case and your requirements. So you'll be two sort of traceability. One is from a result point of view, one is from a coverage point of view. So the next question is, can I create a test plan, suite, steps, results, hierarchy, and trace analysis? And the answer is, of course, yes. And this is what I'm showing here. I think some of these questions might have been posted before I showed it. The next question is, I realize that accept as is isn't an option in ADO. However, it happens where part of a test failed, but that's deemed to be okay. In those cases, a note at the test run level could explain that. Is there a way to add that comment and have it show up in the property? So yes, there is a way. So when you do execute the test case, and I will show that to you. So if I go and just run this test case, and you said that if this fails, then you have to add a comment, right? But if you said this passed, you can still go and add a comment here, right? And so this is how you add those comments. Now, in the reporting, one of the things I think we are working on right now is to get those comments into our reports in the release that we'll do in mid to late December, and that's one of the things we're trying to incorporate is those comments to show up there. But of course, if it fails, and failing is okay, then that's arguable if that's really failed. That's probably more like passed with a comment. But either ways, I mean, that's perhaps personal choice. But you can record your comments, and in the report, hopefully we'll get this done in our December release, and you'll be able to see the comments in the report as well. The other question is, can you generate the report if you have a suite with subsuites? Can you generate a report if you have a suite with subsuites? I don't know. I don't know how that works, but we will look into this, Paul, and we'll get back to you on that. Can one show what configuration test cases have passed against and what firmware build test against? Yeah. So for this one, Paul, in our next release, in our December release, I know we are looking at including the configuration parameter for reporting. And I know that the build information was on the edge, just from a timing point of view, if we can get it done or not. So hopefully you'll have both of those in the December release. If not, then whatever is left out will come hopefully in the January or February release. In Smart Docs, can you add extra columns to the table in the test steps, in addition to the doc, in addition to the attachment? Actually, adding another column to test steps is not a limitation of Smart Docs, but rather it is a limitation of Azure DevOps. Azure DevOps doesn't let you create other columns within that work item, and all we are doing is we are actually mirroring that structure in Smart Docs. So the answer is no. You can't add another column to the test cases, and you can't do it either in ADO nor in MR. In general, it would be helpful to have examples that look real. It helps to put in better context. Wendy, your point is good. Noted. The next question is, I've asked about version 4 on-prem. I found it appears we do have the update. Yeah, good. Can you add a hierarchy tree, for example, feature request, test run in one go? No. The test run is linked to the test suite. So the test results is independent from the work item structure. But we probably will end up doing something to bridge that. But not today. I think today you'll end up with two different reports. One is on the test run, one is on the feature requirement test case hierarchy, and one on the test run. But this is a problem we should solve, is so that you can do structures like that. The next question is, are the links to the test cases, test suites, etc., backward compatible? I'm not quite sure what you mean by backward compatible. I know to build this, we are using a particular API from ADO, and so our limitation of that. So if you're using, say, TFS 2015, TFS 2015 did not have this capability exposed, so we could not have worked with it. So it's not a thing that you would have in a very old version. If that's what you mean, then that's the answer. But you can certainly write to us and let us know which version you have and what you really mean by backward compatibility. And Atin, we can get back to you accordingly. Can I execute test plan report with trace to filter requirements? Can I execute test plan report with trace to filter requirements? Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what that means. And that might be a completely valid question. I may not just have enough subject matter expertise to make sense of that question. But if you write to us, we can then answer it, or certainly get the right person to look at it and answer it for you. The next one is, we have a floating license, and I'm curious about how the stakeholder license works with that. You need a separate license for that. So stakeholder license is really not a license. So when you go into model requirements, and the first time that is, it will ask you, do you want to continue as a stakeholder or do you have a license? And if you click on continue as a stakeholder, it just gives you a license internally to operate as a stakeholder. So you don't have to have a real license. The system sort of manages it as though you had already given it a stakeholder license. So as part of the document trace to filter requirements between, as part of the document trace to filter requirements between test description to steps. Yeah, so certainly when you look at your trace analysis, you will see that all the test steps and the details of that are available with the test results virtual work item. And so once you have that, then you have the details, and of course you have the link to the steps as well. For the review management, if we have updated any work items in the review, does the version of the work item in the review get updated using the new updated feature? No, it doesn't. So the new update feature is really for updating the review request to include other people or remove people, either as reviewers or approvers. So it does not change so it's still the same review. The work item revision does not get updated. If you do want to update it, you'd have to create another review, either from the review itself or directly from within the Smart Docs. So again, the real intent of that was simply that you have forgotten to add somebody, or you find out somebody is on leave and you need to replace them. So the other one is, you may have mentioned this, but can our stakeholders view trace analysis? So no, trace analysis cannot be viewed by stakeholders. Only licensed users can view trace analysis. Of course, you can export it to Excel and then share it with people as you please. But if you want to see live data, then live data is a function of a licensed user. The next question is, if I'm using the same test case in few test plans, will I be able to get the latest results of the test case from the latest run, even if it is in a different test plan? Yes, yes, you will be able to. So it really depends on the test execution. Because remember that the results are done at the execution level. So when you execute it, you will get the results. So the results are not directly tied to the test case as much as it's tied to the execution of the test case, which is an independent virtual work item. So the other one is, do you present in Smart Docs attachments that were attached to the test run? No, we don't. So if you're asking, do we present a Smart Doc attachment that were attached to the test run? So in test run, if you have attached a document or an image in there, other than in the comments area, when the comments area come in December, then you will see the image in the comments area. But if you have attached separate files during test run, we haven't supported that yet, but it will be supported early in 2021. The next one is, Also like to request a requirements demo, including mock-up capabilities. Yep, we'll reach out to you. Just to confirm, the high-level test plan will not work if we have enterprise license. That is correct. For that, you need to have Enterprise Plus. Is there anywhere on MR site that describes exactly what is in the test hub reporting? We are creating, including this webinar will be posted on our Get Started web, help center. I mean, on our website, it will be posted there. We are creating some other content on that as well. Of course, there's some detail in the release notes, but probably not detail enough. But we are gradually building out some new content, as this is a new capability that we have recently introduced. And so a couple of more questions left. Our links are predecessor and successor, as we need multiple in both directions. Is there a way to add a feature with all its requirements, with all the tests of the requirements in one go? So, Nidzan, if you're asking this question from the point of view of modeling that information, then you want to use Smart Docs. Because Smart Docs allows you to have this many-to-many relationship type of structure, as you can see with the test cases, and there you can actually do many-to-many, include test cases, and so on, and you can model all of that. Now, if you want to do trace analysis, you can still do a many-to-many trace analysis. You can model that within trace analysis, including the requirements to test case and so on. Just for the test run, you need to run a separate report. You attach GIF to a step at run. Can you also attach to a comment in a step? That's a good question. Of course, when I'm not sure, I tend to just do this, and can you put something in there? Let me just get an image in my clipboard, and then see if the space will work. Nope, that's just a text field. The version planned for December, will it be update 2 or patch to update 1? We were actually initially planning to call it update 1.1. So it's either going to be 1.1 or we might just call it update 2. So that is to be determined, of course, but it's nothing material. It's just a label, call a rose by any name kind of a situation. So with that, folks, I've gone through all the questions. I've got some takeaways. We'll follow up with people on that. Thank you so much for attending. We hope you have a wonderful December, Christmas, other holidays, New Year's, and may the force be with you. Take care. Bye-bye.